Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're exploring something that often quietly distinguishes really great leaders from maybe just good managers.
That's right, the power of deep thinking.
Exactly, that deliberate, thoughtful approach. We've gone through quite a stack of articles, some research papers, and our own notes for this deep dive.
Yeah, lots to dig into.
We're aiming to give you a kind of shortcut, really, to understanding this trait that transforms, reactive decision makers into truly visionary leaders. Let me ask you this. Are you tired of making big calls, maybe just on gut feeling alone?
Or constantly jumping from one decision to the next.
Right, like running on autopilot, leading through back-to-back choices, barely pausing to actually reflect?
It happens so easily.
Well, if that sounds familiar, our mission today is to show how, a more profound way of thinking can sharpen your decision-making, definitely, but also help build stronger, more adaptive, and ultimately more innovative teams.
It's a really important shift, moving from just, reacting to a situation to actually understanding it. What's compelling, I think, from the research we looked at is how moving from pure speed to, let's say, embracing depth and thought. Well, it isn't just a small improvement.
No.
No, it genuinely has a transformative impact on leadership effectiveness.
Okay, let's unpack this because I think we can all relate. We live in a world, right, that constantly pushes us move fast, decide quickly, get results now.
Absolutely. The pressure's always on.
But, as our sources definitely highlight, this often funnels leaders into what some studies call the shallow thinking trap.
That's a good term for it.
Yeah. Imagine this scenario. You're in a high-pressure meeting. All eyes are on you, immense pressure to make a call right then, right there.
Been there.
So you rely on instinct, maybe past experience, and look, sometimes that works out okay.
Sometimes, yeah.
But the articles we reviewed also really point to the significant cost when it doesn't. Weeks of lost team effort, projects going off the rails, or even a real hit to employee morale.
Oh, definitely. One report even suggested something like a quarter of all project failures could be traced back to just one single unconsidered snap decision.
Wow, a quarter. That's huge.
It is, and that's precisely it. When we don't engage in that deeper thinking, we just default to reactive leadership, meaning focusing only on the immediate needs, failing to see the bigger picture, the broader implications, or, and this is maybe the most insidious part, falling into the same old patterns over and over without even realizing why.
Like being stuck in a loop.
Exactly. Our research shows leaders caught in this cycle often find themselves just constantly putting out fires instead of, preventing them in the first place. It's crucial to differentiate here.
Okay.
Shallow thinking might help you survive the day-to-day crisis, maybe, but deep thinking, that's truly how you proactively lead and innovate for the long term.
That makes perfect sense. Okay, so if shallow thinking keeps us kind of stuck, how exactly do we define this deep thinking that helps us move forward? What is it?
Well, deep thinking, as it's described in a lot of the leadership texts we looked at, is deliberate. It's slow.
Slow in this fast world.
Yeah, and honestly, it can be uncomfortable sometimes. It forces you outside your usual ways of thinking. But, and this is key, it is profoundly powerful.
How so?
It means sitting with a problem and not just slapping a bandage on the surface issue. Instead, you're asking the tough questions. Why is this really happening? What's the underlying pattern here that maybe we're missing?
Okay.
And critically, thinking about the second-order consequences, the ripple effects, what happens 6 months down the line because of this decision we make today.
Right, the knock-on effects.
Exactly. It's also about rigorously challenging your own assumptions, actively listening beyond maybe the loudest voice in the room.
That's hard.
It is. And genuinely considering perspectives that maybe don't naturally align with your own view. One study we saw even found that leadership teams that made a point of seeking out dissenting opinions before a major decision, they saw something like a 15% increase in positive long-term outcomes.
15%, just from listening to different views. Wow. Okay, that's a powerful way to put it. For you, the listener, maybe think of it like this.
Yeah.
Where shallow thinking is like using a weak flashlight in a really foggy room. Deep thinking is like turning on all the main lights and opening the windows.
Ah, I like that analogy. Clears the air.
Exactly. It helps you see connections you might have totally missed before. It makes you question the defaults, the way we've always done things. And it helps you anticipate what others might completely overlook.
Moving beyond just observation.
Yeah, moving beyond just seeing what is to actually understanding what could be.
That's the core of it.
Okay, so now we have a clearer picture of what deep thinking is. Let's get practical. How do you actually, do this? How do you integrate it into daily leadership? We pulled some really actionable strategies from our sources.
Good, let's hear them.
First one, make scheduling reflection time a non-negotiable. Seriously, put it in your calendar. Even just 20 minutes a week to review recent decisions.
Just 20 minutes can make a difference.
Totally. Ask yourself, okay, what worked? What didn't? What am I learning from this outcome? Lots of successful leaders, as one article noted, use things like journaling or even just taking a dedicated thinking walk.
Yeah, getting away from the desk, it helps sharpen clarity, find direction.
It really does.
Okay, what's next?
Second crucial strategy, seek diverse perspectives.
Ah, yes. This came up again and again in the research.
You're not alone in leadership, right? And the evidence strongly supports not acting like you are. Talk to your team members, especially the ones closest to the actual work.
They often see things you don't.
Absolutely. Involve mentors. And actively listen to voices outside your usual industry bubble. What's fascinating here is how diversity of thought isn't just like a nice-to-have HR goal.
No, it's functional.
It's genuinely the fuel for deeper, richer insights. We found this one piece of research from a top business school. It highlighted that teams with high cognitive diversity consistently outperformed homogeneous teams when solving complex problems.
That makes sense. Different angles, different solutions.
Yeah, exactly. And third, don't shy away from using frameworks.
Like tools.
Yeah, tools like SWOT analysis,
Yeah.
strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats, or root cause diagrams, fishbone diagrams, that kind of thing. Even scenario planning.
Stuff people might think is just for, like, business school.
Right. But our sources emphasize these aren't just for MBAs. They actually help you slow down your thinking process, give it structure, especially when the stakes are really high. They provide that map for the foggy room we talked about.
A structured way to clear the fog. Okay. And what was the last one?
This one's powerful. Practice mental rehearsal.
Mental rehearsal. Like visualization.
Sort of. Before you implement any major change, mentally walk through the whole thing. Ask, who's going to be impacted by this decision? What could potentially go wrong that we haven't thought about? Crucially, what's our fallback plan if it does go wrong?
Planning for contingencies.
Precisely. We saw one report on crisis management. It highlighted how leaders who consistently pre-saw potential issues through this kind of mental rehearsal, they actually reduced their response times by nearly 30% when a real crisis hit.
Wow, 30% faster response.
Yeah. Deep thinkers don't just act, they visualize and anticipate. They pre-see.
Pre-see, I like that. Which brings us to a key question, doesn't it? Why bother? Why invest all this effort in deep thinking when everything screams for speed?
Right, what's the payoff?
Well, the research we've seen shows the results are genuinely transformational. First, pretty obviously, you get improved decision-making.
Makes sense.
Your choices become not just reactions, but truly strategic, more resilient. They gain this remarkable depth that helps you sidestep pitfalls others just stumble right into.
Okay, better decisions. What else?
Second, you build stronger, more resilient teams. Think about it. Your people see you engaging in deep thought. It sets a tone.
It models the behavior.
Exactly. It cultivates a culture that actually invites critical thinking, genuine creativity. It makes space for real innovation to bubble up from everyone on the team, not just the leader.
So it empowers the team too.
Definitely. And third, you gain significantly greater adaptability. Leaders who think deeply are just inherently more prepared for shifts in the environment, market changes, competitor moves, whatever it is.
They're less likely to panic.
Much less, because they've already thoughtfully considered potential changes and their implications. To put it simply, leaders who practice deep thinking become not just problem solvers, they become pattern recognizers. They become true visionaries for their organizations.
Pattern recognizers and visionaries. That's a powerful combination.
Yeah.
Okay, so what does this all mean for you, the listener listening right now? How do you actually build this into your own leadership DNA?
Well, a few practical steps to really cultivate this deep thinking mindset. First, actively encourage open dialogue within your team. Make it genuinely safe, psychologically safe for everyone to question things.
Even question the lead.
Especially question the leader sometimes. Normalize thinking out loud without any fear of judgment. That's crucial.
Okay, create safety.
Second, recognize the incredible value of the deliberate pause. Understand that slowness isn't weakness. In this context, it's often wisdom in action.
Shifting the perspective on speed.
Precisely. And finally, make deep thinking a consistent, integrated process. Don't just do it once. Use retrospectives after projects finish. Use thinking templates for complex problems. Hold regular team reflection sessions.
Make your routine.
Exactly. The insights from successful organizations consistently show that these kinds of practices lead to sustainable growth and, importantly, fewer recurring issues down the line.
That's really practical advice. And it brings us back to a key point, I think. Remember, deep thinking isn't some, mystical talent you're either born with or not.
No, absolutely not.
It's a habit. It's something you deliberately cultivate. It's not about needing to be the smartest person in the room.
Not at all.
But maybe the most curious, the most considered, and the most conscious one.
Well said. Curious, considered, conscious.
So my challenge to you listening is simple. Next time you face a tough decision, one that feels like it demands that snap judgment, just pause.
Take a breath.
Yeah, reflect. Think deeper. Ask yourself, what new connections might I see if I step back? What second-order consequences could I anticipate?
Give it a try.
Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive into transformative leadership through the power of deep thinking.
Yes, thank you. And we really encourage you to reflect on these insights. Think about how you might apply even just one of them in your own leadership journey, maybe starting today.
And if you're ready to keep building a leadership style rooted in, thoughtfulness and strength, stay with us. We've got more deep dives coming up, extracting knowledge from impactful thinkers and the research that shapes our world.
Looking forward to it.
We invite you to continue your journey of discovery with us.